their in-house office staff. With much of their workforce officing from home, companies could greatly reduce their office space, cutting overhead costs. The Boston Herald reports that working from home is, quote, the new normal and is likely to become permanent. It's being called the death of the cubicle. The rise of virtual business. Medical offices are seeing an explosion in the number of patients they're seeing via video conferencing. And universities are finding out right now whether remote learning can replace bricks and mortar college campuses. According to Business Insider, many companies are realizing they can do business not face-to-face, but by video conferencing, leading to staff reductions. And as Forbes puts it, smaller staff equals bigger profits.
To tell us what we should expect on the other side when we go to work.
Man, I tell you, it's going to be quite different. As you know, we faced this pandemic, something that none of us in our lifetimes and frankly, grandparents hadn't seen. It's pretty amazing. And we're going to see a significant shift in mentality and approach of workers and workplace in the future.
Talk to me about how we should be thinking about emotionally and mentally what it's going to be like to go back to work, the anxieties that are going to undoubtedly be there throughout the duration of this crisis.
We're surveying here at Sherman, but it's telling us how differently people are going to see the world. First of all, we know specifically that a lot of people won't come back to work in the traditional sense, back to the workplace. In the past, we always said remote work was something we did as an accommodation for employees. And what we're finding now is a lot of employees are actually afraid, will be afraid to come back. They're like, yeah, I got over it, but others, I can continue to get this disease. So we're going to see a significant increase of employees requesting work from home permanently. Well, we're on day 106 on a lot of jobs that heretofore we assumed one could not do adequately remotely are now being done and done quite well. So we know that that's going to shift. In fact, there are a number of employers. I just saw a recent report where CFOs are saying, frankly, we are looking forward to having fewer people in the workplace because we're not paying $100, $125 a square foot in the middle of some major city for office space. If you can work at home, good for you.
So here's my prediction of the top 5 ways our lives will change even after the pandemic's over. Number 5, companies will cut their in-house office staff. With much of their workforce officing from home, companies could greatly reduce their office space, cutting overhead costs. The Boston Herald reports that working from home is, quote, the new normal and is likely to become permanent. It's being called the death of the cubicle. The rise of virtual business. Medical offices are seeing an explosion in the number of patients they're seeing via video conferencing. And universities are finding out right now whether remote learning can replace bricks and mortar college campuses. According to Business Insider, many companies are realizing they can do business not face-to-face, but by video conferencing, leading to staff reductions. And as Forbes puts it, smaller staff equals bigger profits.
To tell us what we should expect on the other side when we go to work.
Man, I tell you, it's going to be quite different. As you know, we faced this pandemic, something that none of us in our lifetimes and frankly, grandparents hadn't seen. It's pretty amazing. And we're going to see a significant shift in mentality and approach of workers and workplace in the future.
Talk to me about how we should be thinking about emotionally and mentally what it's going to be like to go back to work, the anxieties that are going to undoubtedly be there throughout the duration of this crisis.
We're surveying here at Sherman, but it's telling us how differently people are going to see the world. First of all, we know specifically that a lot of people won't come back to work in the traditional sense, back to the workplace. In the past, we always said remote work was something we did as an accommodation for employees. And what we're finding now is a lot of employees are actually afraid, will be afraid to come back. They're like, yeah, I got over it, but others, I can continue to get this disease. So we're going to see a significant increase of employees requesting work from home permanently. Well, we're on day 106 on a lot of jobs that heretofore we assumed one could not do adequately remotely are now being done and done quite well. So we know that that's going to shift. In fact, there are a number of employers. I just saw a recent report where CFOs are saying, frankly, we are looking forward to having fewer people in the workplace because we're not paying $100, $125 a square foot in the middle of some major city for office space. If you can work at home, good for you.
Nina, we are on the air.
All right. Hey, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Just Langga Podcast. I am Nina, and this is...
Amien. And
Hello.
Hello. So,
okay. Today, what are we talking about today, Amien?
What to do after this whole MCO, I think. I like to summarize stuff, right?
It's like hashtag kantoy,
It's like
okay?
hashtag kantoy.
Basically, what we're going to be talking about is the future. We have two visionary speakers today. We're going to be talking about what you can expect in the future, how things are going to change, because it's not just about the health crisis, but it's about work, how things are going to change with work, so that you guys don't ever come back to us at PopCon and say, you know what, we're like Nokia, we didn't know this was going to happen, okay?
Yeah.
So we have warned you, okay? Sounds good, Amien?
Sounds good. This is like a post-early warning before things really starts to kick out again, right?
Yeah. So what we're essentially doing, we are going to be prophets, digital prophets, if you like, right?
Pak Nujum, I tell you. Pak Nujum.
Pak Nujum popcorn and Pak Nujum belalang, okay? Right, so most of the time, the future arrives gently. However, in its wake, the shock of COVID-19 and working from home has left us no choice but to embrace digital and get used to the radical lifestyle change that the virus has brought. Mm-hmm. And now we've settled into, a new digital routine. We're also beginning to think about the end of the crisis and what the world will look like afterward. Will it be the same or will it change forever? And how can we prepare ourselves for it? Or is it too late? That's what today is about. Cue intro video, Amien.
Okay, and before that, before we go to the intro video, just want to let you guys know, please share this video out, right? Because I think I had a quick chat with the two speakers just now, and I think they know their shit. That's what I'm saying. They know their shit, right? They know their stuff, and I'm looking forward to dig into their brain and all that. So share this video out, right? And also from time to time, post in your questions in the comment section, right? And with that, let's go with our intro.
Popcorn.
Okay.
All right, guys, welcome back. I am Nina, and this is
Amien. Welcome back.
Welcome to PopCon's Just Langga show.
Yep.
Okay. So today we are talking about preparing your business for a post-pandemic world. Now, what are the changes COVID-19 is forcing onto business? How will the pandemic impact on how we live, how we work and think? And what will think of the future? What will the future hold as the pandemic suits in new ways of digitally connected working, which we now have no choice but to adopt? And who do we have in the house, Amien?
We have two great speakers today, right?
Not just great, they're kind of cute as well. So all the girls you want to tune in, pretty hot speakers.
One of them is Juarez, right? You want to introduce Juarez to us, Nina?
Okay, so it's Juarez Salih Lowe. We go a long way back. He is the CEO of VROC, Artificial Intelligence. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. He'll fix it later. Of Southeast Asia. And he's also a Fulbright scholar, which means he's very, very smart. So you better better comment and ask questions. He's got 20 years experience in law, sales and marketing, consumer analytics, as well as developing business, working with the likes of Mitsubishi, Mercedes-Benz, Johnson & Johnson, BMW, and now with VROC, Juarez looks into the power of AI analytics to increase the bottom line. So under Juarez's leadership, VROC has grown from a startup to become an established regional player in AI and big data space in Southeast Asia. He also speaks about the digital journey at international forums on Industry 4.0, and he's recently written a short paper on this. Now, our next speaker is...
Mr. TEDx himself, Malaysia TEDx. This is Daniel, right? I know Daniel from TEDx, yeah.
I thought Cervantes was the name of the company, but actually it's his name. So very happening speaker we have.
Yes.
So Daniel Cerventus is a digital producer engaging in all things digital. I'm not quite sure what that is, but we're going to ask him. He's also the founder of Next Up Asia, and he's a curator of speakers at TEDxKL. So as a digital producer, he is no stranger to organizing events and is the man behind the third largest TEDx in the world, because Malaysia boleh, with 4,500 attendees, Open Web Asia, and many more. And for TEDxKL, what Daniel does is he not only curates the speakers, but he also coaches the presenters. And he's been doing this for about 8 years, and he's coached, former Minister Datuk Sri Idris Jala, to British High Commissioner Vicky Treadell, and to best-selling author and CEO of iCliff, Rajiv Peshwaria. So as the founder of Next Up Asia, it's actually an online channel for business and entrepreneurship with over 25,000 members. Daniel recently produced an online event with thousands of participants across Asia Pacific. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Juarez and Daniel.
Okay, let's give them the applause button, right?
So nice. Okay. Now, before we continue, again, we've got two really, really intelligent people in the house, futurists or digital prophets. Please, if you are worried about your business, you don't know how to move forward, make sure you ask questions and make sure you share this video, to help businesses and people out there, so that, we can adapt faster and be more resilient and bounce back. Okay, sounds good?
Sounds good.
Please welcome our speakers.
All right, let's do the applause again. Like, how many times do you want to do the applause in?
Oh, because they're so awesome.
Okay.
All right. So first things first, Juarez and Daniel, can you share a little bit about what you guys do and what your role is in the company?
Juarez, want to go first?
Sure. I work with VRock AI. I set up the Southeast Asian operations. But what does VRock AI do? It stands for Virtual Reliability Optimization Control. Basically, we're kind of like a BOMO. We predict when machines will fail. We don't deal with humans because humans have emotions. A lot of engineers have asked me to predict the behavior of a significant other. That we haven't been able to do. That's many, many generations forward. But what we basically do is like your car dashboard. We tell you when things will go wrong with your critical equipment before it happens, and what you need to change. So, for example, your car will fail in 7 days, change the oil filter beforehand. Now, in your car, it doesn't matter so much, but in an oil and gas platform, every day of downtime, even on our depressed oil prices, about $500,000 to $1 million US. And when things go down, they go down for 2 weeks. So that's quite a significant savings if you can predict when it goes down ahead of time and change your relevant parts. So we do primarily oil and gas, power. Those are the industries that we handle. We work with the Malaysian National Oil and Gas Company, and we're in the midst of talking to an Indonesian oil and gas national provider.
Okay, sounds good. So in short, in summary, you are a digital BOMO, which is why we invited you today. Yeah, and it's Rock, is it?
VRock.
VRock, kind of like The Rock, except it's VRock. Yeah.
VRock.
Okay, so Daniel, what is it? Do you want to share a little bit about your company, what it does, and what your role is?
Actually, at this point in time, I'm kind of on a sabbatical, but my previous company, we help organization build version 1 of whatever they want. So it's a digital transformation agency, but mostly focused on design thinking and design sprint. So we help organizations like Petronas Bank Negara to build out version 1 of particular solutions that they need. But at this point in time, technically I'm supposed to be traveling, but COVID happened, and so my main focus at this this couple of weeks essentially is to run a network to supply PPE to hospitals. Also, in terms of helping out the entrepreneurs in my community to learn about how do they survive this whole COVID situation and this whole wave of change that is happening so rapidly.
Yes. Okay. Wow. Thank you so much for stepping up, Daniel. So more on your sabbatical, right? Okay. So can I ask you guys, in your respective industries, and maybe later on, as we share for the world for that matter, has this pandemic and the lockdown changed the way we work for your industry especially? And do you think it's going to stay forever? Or is it just a temporary thing?
Anyone of you can
There's
start.
an Instagram meme which has gone around and said, what accelerated your digital transformation, CEO, CTO, CIO, or COVID-19? One of the first changes we noticed is everyone's learning how to use video conferencing software. And I think they're learning how to do new backgrounds, everyone's investing in a set of headphones. So I think that's the first stage of people having a lot of meetings. Now, just the simple change of having a lot of online meetings has a huge number of repercussions. I've talked to a lot of people, and if I'm in business development or sales or whatever you want to call it, and 6 months ago if you asked me, Juarez, can you do sales online without meeting people face to face over teh tarik, I'd say you're crazy. I'd say I'm crazy, but right now this is what I'm doing. And people, even if they can see you, even if they am sales lifted, they don't want to see you until December, is what a lot of them are saying. So just a simple change of meetings has repercussions, because people say even when you go back to normal, business travel is going to be cut down by 30%. People are getting used to staying at home. They're getting used to cooking. So I think restaurants' revenue has been substantially hit. And we're probably going to see 20 or 30% of the restaurants that you know out there will no longer exist. You're going to see the same thing on hotels, and there'll be knock-on effects on hotels and airlines. So that's just some of the things that we're going to see. In terms of my clients, before digital was a nice to have. It was something people couldn't see. It's always difficult to sell something you can't see. It's easier to sell a spotlight because they can see it. But right now, the speed of digital transformation has been enhanced. In oil and gas and power, if you have some piece of equipment go down, it would normally take you 5 days maybe to get the piece of equipment from Houston to Malaysia. Right now, it's probably going to take you a month because of all the fewer flights, the travel restrictions, and even getting an engineer out from Houston to Phuket is going to take you a really long amount of time. And you might not even get them. So it's made people transform, and I don't think people will go back to it. I think office space will be another thing which will be hit, because people will discover that they don't need to go to the office. So the work from home thing is something which will probably stay.
Wow. Okay. Sounds so. I guess as a business, you guys are very affected as well, in a good way.
Well, the good news is, as soon as this happened, we all got together and had a meet, and we discovered that although our previous implementations had involved engineers flying out to the sites, we discovered that because we just take the data from the equipment, none of our guys actually need to be there. And we actually talked to the IT guys, and all of them can do things remotely via video call. So we discovered, not that we had it planned by accident, but we actually COVID-19 compliant.
Wow.
We are contactless company.
Wow. Okay. So that's definitely going to change the way you guys work, and will definitely save costs in the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think for
fact,
us, yeah.
Our solution on its own, giving a little plug, actually already saves costs, because you can foresee when your industrial equipment will go down, then you can budget accordingly and reduce your unplanned deferment. So go ahead.
Okay, so I guess basically if you're like a factory or something like that, you want to be connected, get your business to IR 4.0 so that you can check this data and you can work remotely, right? Yep. Okay. Daniel, do you have anything to add, like in your respective industries? Has this pandemic and lockdown changed the way we work and the industry forever?
So I can comment on various industries, but
great.
in terms of what you want to see is people are, like what Juarez is saying, that people are already hooked with working at home, and speed of business has changed tremendously. So one of the events that MDEC was supposed to hold, usually, for example, using MDEC, they actually recently did business matchmaking for angels investors with the whole with KK Fund. And usually this kind of thing will take like maybe a couple of months of production, planning and meetings and so on. They managed to pull that off in a couple of days, like probably less than a week.
basically.
Okay.
With over 200 startups from all around Malaysia, that getting matched with investors from around the region. So you are seeing a lot of this optimization, that there's a lot of fat cutting in terms of time and meeting, and people are starting to realize that you can move a lot faster. Previously, when you think about digital transformation, it's always something like, okay, this is a 1 year plan, 3 years plan, etc. All of a sudden, everyone has to start to be agile and turn at a time. And it has, you see a lot of the event companies that cannot function at all during our MCO or during COVID-19. So some of our friends like Riza Kamal started doing virtual events, and they are trying to move digital as fast as possible, even that is not traditionally something that natively they are comfortable with. But a lot of organizations have to learn to adapt, move really fast, or essentially perish.
Wow, okay. Essentially perish. Okay, are you guys hearing this? If you don't move fast enough, you're essentially gonna perish, according to our digital prophet here, Daniel Cerventus, okay? Yeah. So, and also I think the other thing that we need to also consider is that we're not going to get a vaccine soon, right?
Yeah, so if you take a look at how long the timeline in terms of to test out a vaccine, like number one, we do not have a vaccine. So after testing out the viable vaccine to see whether is it safe or not, that takes about 3-6 months, depending how fast they actually streamline it. Then you also have the idea of implementing vaccine to people. So Malaysia is 35 million people. We are currently doing about 20,000 tests per day. And do you think we can administer 20,000 vaccine a day, or do you think it will be more? Let's even, and how much is the cost of that? So if you calculate everything backward, I think a safe assumption to say like that bear in mind, normal doesn't exist anymore. So there's going to be a new normal. Everything is going to change. It's going to be a resemblance of what we experienced before, but things will, if you look at where the possible vaccine in terms of projection, we're talking July 2021, or even optimistically, we're looking at like September 2021.
So long. Okay. Okay, let's talk about industries. Which industries do you think is going to be greatly affected? Because from some of the research that I did, definitely they said that the ones that are going to be disrupted the most is probably medical. Education, because everybody, all the students, the entire, all over the world, schools are empty now, except for Taiwan. They're still functioning. Any other industries? Events, definitely. Everything's going virtual, right? So what sort of industries are going to be completely disrupted? Juarez?
On the top of my mind, I'd say three. We'll have to find a new way of doing things. Airlines, restaurants, and hotels will really have to change the business model. And they have to adapt. I sent one of my friends over to KLIA just as soon as MCO was put on. I sent my CEO to the airport, and for the first time I had in full view all of the entire AirAsia fleet and the entire Malaysian Airlines fleet on the ground. So they've really got to do something to look at changing. Again, I'd like to think I'm a digital prophet of the airlines, but I'm not. But they'd have to find some other way of rejigging. In terms of restaurants, there's always been this rush for buka puasa entertainment. And you're going to have to spend, 180 ringgit for buka puasa at a hotel. I think all the hotels this year are finding that they're not getting that kind of revenue. And they're doing delivery starting from as low as 25 ringgit from a 5-star hotel. So they're really having to change the model. Restaurants are also changing, because when you serve that Coke that Daniel told me about yesterday, what Coke's 7 ringgit, 10 ringgit in a restaurant. But you know what? When people click and order online, they're not going to order 10 ringgit Coke. And that's where your GP comes from. So they have to look at changing their model and seeing what it is that they can do. And a delivery model is very, very different from a restaurant model. Plus, things which could happen, the restaurant prices could go up, and we would be paying higher fees for the privilege of eating in a restaurant, because restaurants are now only going to be maximum 30% of their area capacity with social distancing in place.
Okay.
Yeah, I do agree, because the perception of value has changed tremendously. The Coke was one good example, because and the other thing is, when you go to a restaurant, you usually dine with a family. Because you're now dining at home and there's so much delivery, you can actually technically pick and choose. And of course, you have to pay for delivery charges for all of them, but you can technically choose, like, if your whole family do not want to go to this particular restaurant, you can, like, the dad wants to dine restaurant A, restaurant B, restaurant C. So how do you actually retain that? Because you're losing that whole family crowd, you're losing that whole dine-in together experience where people are looking at. So what value are you going to provide? We see a lot of restaurants have pivoted to start selling home kit. So a couple of restaurants like Burger Lab,
Tea Live as well.
Tea Live, and all of them are starting to do your own DIY kit, because would that be a trend that continues to be like cook at home or so forth? Because that might be, like, a lot of my friends who previously are not what they call themselves domesticated, but because they don't cook at home, they recently been domesticated in terms of that. And so they are finding like all this new tool sets, something unique that they can actually adapt and cook variety of stuff. The other thing I want to touch upon is, like, how we rethink about agriculture and food supply. As you know, it's really hard to bring stuff. Logistic is going to bring stuff across border. So a lot of countries, a lot of organizations countries have to be more self-reliant in terms of their food supply. And this will also see something like the trend of moving forward. The middleman will sort of die off, because everyone is going online. You see people selling fish online doing live stream. You see some of the farmers setting up Lazada shops, Lazada, Shopee shops, and so forth. So, would there be a market for a middleman? How would that change in terms of what value do you bring? Because the provider, the people who produce the items, can go direct straight to consumer, and it's so much more true now than ever.
Right. Okay. So I totally agree with you. In fact, with a lot of the things that I read, I'm going to share with you some of the industries and what they think is going to change the trend, and then you guys can let me know whether you agree with it or you don't agree. So first things first, digital migration will accelerate. Remote digital teamwork becomes the norm. Remote hiring of tech talent will be the new norm. We could be working remotely across all countries. Companies could have purely remote stuff. Conferences and events will go virtual. The rise of local sourcing, like what you said, and 3D printing. Education goes virtual and on demand. Faster adoption of digital health tools. Restaurants might permanently link up with delivery service platforms or expand their reach via ghost kitchens. So do you guys agree, or is there more?
There's definitely more. I want to talk about remote working, because remote working is a double-edged sword.
Okay.
On one hand, because we have a currency arbitrage in our favor. So for people who are hiring from the States, they can hire people from Malaysia now. And because previously you're talking about these are some of the stuff you might not be able to outsource, or you not be able to hire staff that are remote, because you need them in the office. But since everyone has experienced that, and there are so much adaptation in terms of tools for remote working, we might really see a flattening of the job market. But that is also true with developers might be cheaper in Taiwan, or more cost effective in Taiwan or Vietnam. So we might see a lot of people lose jobs. So there's definitely a much more leveler in terms of how some of these jobs will be. And local companies might take opportunity to just outsource to a cheaper wage, because I do not need these jobs to be in the office anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Guys,
That sounds really good.
I'm going to interrupt
Do
you
you have
guys
a
for a
question?
while. Yes, I do. There's two questions that I think is quite related to what we're talking about right now.
Fantastic.
So one of it comes from let me just show this on the screen, yeah. This is from Ganuka.
Okay.
So Ganuka was asking, what advice would you hope for industries that aren't at this moment able to go virtual, such as saloon, optical outlets, and so on, so on, so on. Let's start with that one first, and I'll go with the next question.
Okay. Whoever wants to answer can answer.
Yep.
I'll just jump in a bit. I've seen some of them. So, like for example, personal trainer gyms and etc. They definitely cannot go digital as easy as possible. But a lot of them, that one of the things that a lot of them are trading is basically they are selling knowledge. So you see a bunch of them doing online courses. I think there was a period of time Winnie Lu was instructing people using webcam to how they cut their own hair.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. But that's also the reality of it. You have to look at alternative source of income. So side hustle might be something that people need to look at and to look at multiple sources of income instead of just relying one source of income for your business.
Yeah.
Okay, Juarez, would you like to add anything to it?
Seems like I can see that you're thinking.
See what?
I can see that you're in your deep thoughts. So like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, he's like thinking.
It's like thinking.
Fulbright scholarship is being put to
I
you.
got the thinking look down, even if I'm not thinking now. I'm quite fortunate, I guess. My wife's a Pilates instructor, and she's actually moved on day 2 of MCO. She already moved and put everything online. And it's kind of good that I'm also a closet tech geek, so I have a little 65-inch TV. So she does private one-on-one or maybe 3 or 4 people and does remote classes. And when we talked about it after MCO, are you going to go back to it? And actually no, because gyms are probably the worst place for you to get diseases and that kind of thing. So I think you've got to adapt your business model, but the good thing is because people were cooped up, they really, really wanted more frequent sessions. So she started doing PTs 5 times a week for just 30 minutes, and that was something which could see very big results on people because you're doing it regularly for those little 30-minute intervals. So that's an example of adaptation. I think the most important thing that we've got to take away from this is we've got to have an open mind and really challenge ourselves in a crazy way and saying, look, how do we get our product, or what kind of product do we bring to our consumers? And they're not going to consume pre-MCO. A lot of people have realized we don't need to consume the way they have. I think if all of you looked at your gross, what have you spent on in the last month? You're going to find probably 8% groceries.
M&Ms.
What you spend on is food, and maybe a few other things, but it's mainly food.
Yes.
So I think we've got to really challenge the way we do our thinking. And even for me, I'm looking at Lazada, finding Cameron vegetables from Lazada. Yeah. So the other thing which I think Daniel mentioned is local sourcing. When you go to these atas restaurants, it's, we're so happy 80% of our food is locally sourced. Now we don't have a choice. When you go to the supermarket, it says, this is imported. It is expensive because it's important. There's a big sign there. So what we're discovering is I think we need to go back to basics. And Tun Daim gave a talk about 6 months ago, and he said we need to focus on local sourcing. Actually, Malaysia could be self-sufficient. It's just that if you go to tell Amma, Appa, you're going to be what? Oh, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be a farmer. Probably, I'm a lawyer, doctor, technician, whatever, economist, engineer. You're good. I'm going to be a farmer, Mom and Dad. They're like, why am I sending you to university? Yeah. So I think we've really got to relook that food self-sufficiency is something that I'm sure our current government is relooking. And for me, I've looked at my own diet, and I've turned about 80% plant-based, so I eat local plants and fruits. So.
Okay, that's really interesting what you said.
Yep.
In fact, I want to cover about, parents, especially if you're listening to this and if your kids want to be a farmer. I actually have a friend who's a farmer. He has like a prawn farm, and he told me that the money for agriculture is the same as the money for growing, selling drugs, except it's legal.
Less stress.
Less stress.
So I would say, please, it's basically like halal weed, okay? Halal marijuana, put it that way.
I mean, to put on top of this, there's so much innovation happening, like vertical farming, indoor farming, with mirror that actually redirect the sunlight over it. You do not need to actually have a lot of space. You basically just need to have a building, and you can, there's so many abandoned warehouse
And soon
shop.
to abandoned office buildings probably, right?
Yeah, so you don't actually need physical land to do farming now. It's so different, and the yield is tremendous in terms of what people are looking at, and I'm not surprised that there's going to be more and more people that will actually take up farming, for example, as a career.
Yeah. And farming is sexy, okay? So if there's anything that you remember, farming is sexy. I mean, you said there was another question.
Yeah, just to add to that, I saw this article on CNN Business that in the United Kingdom, a few weeks ago, they were engineers, chef, and waitresses, but now they are doing farming. You guys know about that?
Wow, didn't know that. Okay,
so,
are they enjoying it? So I guess this is a fantastic time. Any other questions?
Yes, there's a lot actually.
There's a lot. Okay, let's
go ahead.
I just want to add one more quick thing. I think this was mentioned over with one of my hosts for my show. Sorry, one of the guests from my show, Kian Go. So Kian started the Asian Food Channel back in the day, and he's now a venture capital for Open Space VC. And what he mentioned that most businesses are experiencing product market fail. And
what does that mean? Sorry?
Product market fit is when your business model is working. Product market fail is like travel airline, nobody's flying, so everything is failing. So a lot of businesses are experiencing product market fail. And one of the things to do is really to look at what are the resources that you have and how do you adapt from that. So one of the companies that he invested was essentially a fashion company that were doing delivery in rural villages in Indonesia. And they were like, okay, no one is buying clothes. No one is going to buy clothes at this point in time. They're going to die. They're going to so worried. So Kian mentioned that you shouldn't look yourself as a fashion company. You should look yourself as a logistic company that just happens to be a fashion brand.
Yes.
Yeah. And utilize your logistic solution. So there are always a third way out of it. Just you have to figure out what are your resources and what are the things that you can start selling that is beyond your original business.
Yeah. And I think that one is quite related to the one of the audience questions. So I'm going to share this out. So now, given a choice, what would be a good industry to be in right now post COVID-19?
I'm going to leave you guys to answer that.
Yes.
Agriculture, you guys mentioned.
Yeah.
Agriculture, for sure. I mean, if you set up the next Zoom, that's a really good industry as well.
Agreed.
I think anything I'm in the digital monitoring space, so I think AI is something which is moving from a nice to have to becoming a must have. So they're looking into that. So it might be digital monitoring, it might be AI and big data, because industries are rapidly being disrupted. We just I had a call with someone who's looking at using our AI bots to do actuarial sciences. So your insurance premium can be calculated by AI. So that's something we could look at. And I think as we go along, the most important thing I think I would say is not so much the industry, but being adaptable from the human mindset, which AI can't do, and just keep that eye open for opportunities. And I think Malaysians are pretty good at that. We've had one of my friends who's in the task force was saying that a lot of people in business have changed and become Grab drivers or Food Panda drivers. So we're adapting to, there is a big demand for that, but at some stage there might be drones delivering that. So you'll have to find another job or another outlet.
Okay.
So the way I will answer it, I do agree. The number one skill that you should have is really adaptability. And and how do you adapt to situation, because things will change. Automation is definitely a trend coming regardless of COVID or anything, and there's so many things that are being automated. And so I think I mentioned earlier in our offline conversation that some of the industries that you think might not be disrupted. For example, so if you ask people like, okay, so what are the jobs that won't be disrupted by AI? Oh, maybe like fashion modeling. But no, there's actually models out there that are totally virtual, and they don't need a human, and they don't need to deal with the divanness, they don't need to deal with everything else. It's like, you just get a virtual model and they can model clothes. So everything can be disrupted, to be honest. So we need to find ways to adapt. But on a near term, short-term situation, try to identify what skills you have, what skills that people ask you, and what you can teach. I think that's one easy way to start figuring out that, because if most people are asking you like, hey, Amien, how do I do this switching and stuff like that? Or Juarez, I need to learn how do I write do a score interview to get to Fulbright Scholar. So teaching your skill set is a very easy short-term thing to look at. There's always going to be demand. There's always going to be demand for that as long as people are consuming.
I absolutely agree. I mean, do you have any more questions? Or
yes, we have. You know what? Why not you ask your question first, and then after that, we go with the rest.
Mine is to do with mindset. So along the lines with what you guys shared just now. So if these changes are happening, what sort of mindset will we need to run businesses? You said something about adaptability, but also it sounds like, the old capitalism, profits, bulk, it's all about profit. Will it still work in the new normal? And what does this mean to new business? What sort of culture and identity will these new companies need to have?
So the downside is basically that this particular crisis is actually causing more segregation. So social distancing, like for all of us, is a privilege. It's definitely a privilege because we can afford it. But there are so many people out there who are, for example, the migrant workers or people who are, in terms of a different economic scale, in terms of the economic spectrum, they cannot afford all the social distancing. They might be living in cramped quarters, or they have to actually go physically to get work and so forth. So there's definitely going to be a bit of a divide coming forth. The rich are gonna, I won't say rich, like rather the people who have and can adapt will probably accumulate more, and the people who are actually looking at the other side of the spectrum might be suffering a lot more, because if more jobs go into automation, they have less jobs to do. And like, for example, if they decide to be Grab drivers, but when Grab cars become all automated, what can they do? I mean, they will probably end up doing something else. There's always going to be creations of new jobs, but it's going to be a bit of a transition, as if you're older into this, if you're older, you have much more commitment and so forth. So there's going to be all this dynamics will cause a bit of a shift in terms of divide for people who have income or people who are. Of course, there's always more opportunities now for upward mobility. People can start their business. But again, like, how much opportunities are some of these people in the lower end of the spectrum of the socio-economic ladder to have this upward mobility?
Juarez, would you like to add anything?
I think when I talk about agility and adaptability, I think you've got to be able to make those tough decisions on what aspects of your business you're going to change. For about 13 years before going into this AI venture, I ran a corporate training company which was doing face-to-face training, and our clients were Maybank, Petronas, Johnson & Johnson, BHP Billiton, one of the largest companies in the world. And in 2017, 2018, I made the decision to leave that and set up this AI business. Now, it's pretty tough to make that call and say, the business is doing well, it was reasonably successful, but say, look, I'm leaving this and I'm moving on to a new career. To make that change and say, look, we're just going to, this doesn't work, let's go and do this. That is always the most difficult decision to make. Sometimes you get it right. So I think it's a combination of knowing when to make a tough decision and when to know your decision isn't working and when to turn back or when to go face with different decisions. I think Daniel brought up a very good point that we are now looking at death for a lot of the people at the bottom end of the pyramid. We are looking at death by COVID-19 or death by starvation. And in countries like Indonesia and India, you've got, I don't know, 20% of the population have just been moved from the poverty line to above the poverty line, and they're probably going to be 100 million in India probably move straight back down again due to COVID-19, because a lot of them are relying on daily wages. So I think there are probably a lot of tough decisions to be made by the government as well. When you lift the lockdown, what you do it, because the goreng pisang guy outside my apartment has been closed for nearly 2 months. So, I'm just looking, how does that guy survive?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think those are tough decisions we all, at whatever stage we are or whatever level we are, we probably have to make certain tough decisions. And it's making those tough decisions and sticking the course, which is the most difficult thing to do.
Go on.
So I think also one of the funny things that is the weird quirks about economic and how the impact of COVID-19 is the fact that the ultra-rich, so if you look at, there's a model actually presented by Hans Rosling, the late Hans Rosling, so there's actually four level of income. So if you look at the whole thing, it's probably like a bell curve, and there's the ultra-rich and the really ultra-poor. These two segments are probably the least affected by COVID-19 because it doesn't matter for them. Some of these ultra poor, they are so remote that it takes about like 3 hours to actually get into where they are. So they are probably self-sufficient. They have their farm and so on, but income-wise, they are living below the poverty line. Like they are probably below like $1 US, $2 per day in terms of Malaysia standard or Indonesia standard, and that they are not affected. The people that are affected are the people like within the slightly above the poverty line, but they are relying on really trading their time, really trading their labor for income, and these people are the most heavily affected because the mass migration to the city, causing people to live in cramped spaces, causing all these various close proximity that will cause more spread of COVID.
So with new businesses coming in, will it be like different? I mean, will it be profit-based, or will we start seeing businesses that's going to look out for employees, look out for local sourcing? I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think every business will always need to make a profit to survive. You cannot be bleeding millions of dollars a day and continue. That's not a business. You do need to make profit to survive. Whether you look out for employees or not, studies have shown the more you look out for employees in the long run, the more profitable you are. And when I worked in Johnson & Johnson, we had something called a credo, which is translated into many languages, and it said you look after customer, you look after employee, you look after community, in that order. And then, by the way, your shareholder will be taken care of. And I think they had about 100 years of 10% annual growth.
Wow.
But we always made decisions based on the credo. So when we had business decisions to make, we said, is it affecting the customer, the doctors, nurses, babies, or others? One of the other businesses which I'm seeing grow is disinfecting businesses. Because to open up under the post-MCO, you've got to disinfect. So manufacture of disinfectant and application of disinfectant is a fast growing. Even my Grab app just told me that I can grab someone to disinfect my office if I want to.
Wow. Okay. There you go. Do you want to add anything to that, Daniel?
Yeah, I think businesses will always go for profits regardless, but it depends on the entrepreneurs and depends on the leaders and depends on the, more importantly, it depends on the company culture. So, which is very sad. So if you look at the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, what is he doing in terms of his employee? Yes, some parts of his business is there, but at the same time, he's actually paying really, really low wages for those people who are helping out in the warehouse and so forth. So again, it really depends on
the entrepreneur himself.
It depends on the entrepreneur and depends on the leaders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I go to the question, guys? Or should
Yes.
I? Okay.
I was just about to ask you.
Okay. Now there's a few questions that's coming in. A lot of people say hi to you. Okay, one of it is this one. This one's from Daniel Peters. What would be your advice to the current IT workforce with the growing demand on AI and RPA? Should they upskill themselves on this tech, or is it too late?
Okay. One of the things I'm not a tech grad or a computer science grad, but one of the things we were talking about when I talk to people in education is your IT degree. It's normally a 4-year degree. What you learn in year 1, by the time you graduate, is obsolete. So the question is, do you need to upskill yourself continuously? Yes. I have a 10-year-old daughter, and she looked at one of those rotary dial phones, and she said, "Dada, what's that?" This is when she was 5. I said, "That's a phone." And we had a little argument. She said, "No, that's not, Daddy. Phones don't look like that. They look like this, and you swipe them to open up." So I think, do you need to upskill yourself? Yes. Is there a need for IT professionals? Yes. The good news about being an IT professional is you can work from wherever you want to work. Because if you're working with other IT professionals and they cannot work virtually, they shouldn't be in IT.
That's so true. So true. I would like to add in terms of this, every couple of years you'll see a shift and everyone needs to find ways to upskill themselves. It just happens, some shift happen faster than others. COVID-19 is one catalyst that caused this inflection of this shift happening faster. The Japanese have a good saying of it. It's called Soshin, which is the beginner's mind. So when you are, especially martial art practice, you always need to approach with a beginner's mind. Because if you come in with the fact that, oh, I already know this already happened, and you realize that, you cannot adapt to the world. You cannot adapt to the ever-changing world. And that's where the biggest problem, because you miss out a lot of the other opportunities. So some of the companies that came out, during the last financial crisis, a lot of interesting companies came out, like Airbnb, Uber. These are some of the companies that came out of financial crisis. But in the startup world, there's the term called pivot. Essentially, how you transform your business from one original idea to finding, again, product market fit. Essentially, that your business model works and people are paying you. So YouTube, for example, was actually a dating site. Flickr was actually a game. Ofo, which is actually a bike sharing company that sort of failed in China but became very big previously, was originally a biking tour service. Slack used to be a game site. What else? Facebook used to be a dating site for Harvard. So you need to find ways to adapt, and the faster you can adapt with a beginner's mindset, and because things change. Why YouTube can happen? Because what has changed? Oh, high-speed broadband has enabled YouTube to happen. That YouTube cannot happen at that period of time. So you have to ask yourself, what has enabled now that you can do business differently? The iPhone, smartphone has enabled so many people to do business differently. It has enabled remote working a lot efficiently because of the internet, because of broadband. So a good example, SARS happened in 2003. Okay, my friend was one of the first few that was quarantined in Alibaba because of SARS.
Wow. Okay.
And back in those days, he had to carry his not laptop but desktop computer, like trolley roll back, relying on DSL and dial up speed, like very low speed. Like, would you rather be remote working now or remote working at 2003?
Now, definitely.
Yeah. So there's a lot more opportunities. that you should actually look at, but just have to have an open mind, have a beginner's mind, and to start questioning what are the assumptions that you had previously that has failed you and has changed, and what paradigm has shifted, and then you can start identifying what are the businesses out there that you can actually explore.
Yeah.
Okay, on that, I would like to ask you, we were talking about this earlier. Are there a lot of people who are complaining outside right now, or are they very optimistic that they see this as an opportunity?
Yes, there's so many. Part of the I think this is very obvious in my entrepreneur group, but part of the reason why I end up doing the daily live stream doing MCO is because a lot of them had they do not know how to face the reality. Some of them came to me and messaged me. I just lay off like firing people is one thing, but like lay off a bunch of staff is another whole different level, and they do not know how to deal with it. Or my runway is only 2 months. I'm like, seriously? Your runway is only 2 months? Or my runway is only 2 weeks. I'm like, how do you survive that? Like in terms of that. So there's I won't say they are complaining. I say they are very scared. They are more they are worried because there's so much uncertainty, and because of all this uncertainty, and they are not thinking straight. So they are not taking a step back to try to figure out like, okay, what are the steps that I need to do? What are my business contingency plan? What are my business transformation plan? What are all the stuff that I need to start doing to actually ensure survival of my business? I think Jack Ma recently came out and said like the first thing you need to start thinking is how to survive, and it's not building the next $1 billion business. Don't think about that. Think about how do you start bringing income. Like the pisang goreng seller is like 2 months no income, can they survive? I don't know.
Yeah. Juarez, you want to add anything to that?
I think you've got to back to this. You've got to look and see what is it that you. The question: do you get people complaining? I think not so much people complaining, but I think people not understanding that we have changed. I gave this example because I run the business development team. And I have some of the other people in business development saying, don't worry, our client will see us when MCO is lifted. And I give you this analogy. If you're a guy trying to ask a girl out for a date, and she says, darling, I will see you after MCO, she's not interested. Okay? So likewise, if your client is telling you they're going to see you after MCO, get a video call. Because or understand that the client's not interested. So you've got to look at things. After MCO, we're not going to go back to the new normal. Some of the clients I'm talking to are not going to meet people until December. Their travel, unless it's for essential services, is cut. The work from home order is until December this year. So we've got to understand that this change is going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
So, and adapt to it and not say, oh, I can't wait till things get back to normal. They're not. They're not for at least 2 years or more.
And even then, it's not going to be the normal that we know. It's going to be a totally different normal. Like airlines might have to adapt differently. That you might have to do a somewhat of a quarantine. I don't know. The procedures, everything will be different. And when there's change, there's always opportunity.
Right. Okay. Amien, questions?
Yes. I think this is kind of. I'm just going to put some comment as well. So Hanis, what's the name again here? Hanis Izura. I'm just going to put this up. She's talking about mindset. Regarding mindset, I think it's important to have a synergetic mindset at this time. People are in need of added income. They have spare capacity. They have manpower to offer. They are much more open to opportunities to collaborate. So look around and consider how you can usefully synergize with people you would not have considered before, like competitors, local community, etc., to create new services and solutions. What do you guys think about that?
Oh yeah, definitely. A lot of the F&B outlets that were supposedly competitors, they are doing a lot of cross collaboration. So I'm seeing this in the travel industry. Actually, I'm seeing this across every industry. That I always believe there's no such thing as competitors. There's always competitor for now, but it could be a collaborator in the future.
Yeah, yeah. Juarez, anything you want to say to that?
No, I agree. You have to look at things radically. What's happened outside is radically different. when I did my slides, I wrote that 1/4 of the world's population is under some form of movement control. And I think at some stage it changed to nearly half the world's population was under some form of movement control when the Indians decided to quit. So you've got a situation which even our grandparents haven't seen. So we've got to understand, in that radically different situation, we can't look at our competitor as our competitor anymore. We've got to see what we can do to work together, how to grow the business, and how to do things more. One piece of advice I would have is to always look at getting to market. I think Daniel and I have looked at so many companies, brilliant products, but getting to market is the problem. And one of the questions we had was from an IT person. You want to look at selling his services. Again, it's getting to market. There may be a huge demand in America or India for IT programmers, but you need to get to the market, and that's always the most crucial to survive.
Yeah.
Okay. More questions, Amien?
Yes, one more. This one comes from someone who is, I think he's quite new to the group. Hold on, where is it? Okay, where are you? Hold on, yeah.
No.
Okay, point of that.
I am not amused. My producer is very slow.
No,
Yeah.
I'm
Sorry, just kidding.
Sorry.
I'm behind that all the time. Every day is such a hard work. It's like multitasking.
We got to talk about your show later, right? We got to go over that.
Yeah.
Collaboration, right? Okay. By the way, this is a good question. Hi guys, what advice do you have for young people who are just graduating and getting into the job market now in Malaysia? I think this is a very good question for all the youngsters out there. They are enthusiastic.
I want to add as well, it's not just youngsters, because if digital is the way forward, how can businesses prepare their staff to accept the new normal? How do we prepare our new graduates to accept the new normal? What is it retraining, reassigning jobs? What sort of skills will be the most sought after?
Yeah, and I think in relation to that, I think the job market is not going to be easy for them after this. So what can they do? Right?
Yeah. What advice would you give them?
Okay. Daniel, are you good? I take this start off?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. All right. I've been asked to give a talk to University Malaya this weekend actually, to Society Petroleum Engineer graduates. Now, if you're young and you're coming out of the job market, and there's probably the biggest recession that you've seen is looking at you in the face. I think unofficial statistics showed our unemployment figures are in double digit, and apparently that didn't happen in the 97 recession. Of course, Nina and I weren't around in the 97 recession.
I wasn't alive.
Born yet, right? You weren't alive yet.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I came out of Bristol University in 1995, and then I did my CLP, and then I came out of the job market in 1997. For those of you who are graduating now, I don't know if you're born then, but the 1997 was something called an Asian financial crisis. My office was in Wisma HLA, and you look out the window, every few days there's someone jumping out the window.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, some guy had invested badly. You hear about someone who invested in the stock market. In 1996, your char kway teow seller tells you invest in the stock market, then you know there's something wrong. But with every recession, there's always opportunity. I started off as a lawyer in the corporate department. I thought, I'm just going to sign big contracts, draft the contracts, and pass them to clients. And then within a month of the financial crisis, they suddenly said, Juarez, you either lose your job or you go to litigation. So suddenly I ended up going to court suing people for money. So within every crisis, I learned a whole lot of skills. I learned how to talk. I learned how to present things to the Malaysian judiciary. I learned how to make complex concepts simple, which is a skill that I still use in my 40s to talk to clients, technical and non-technical people, and I'm talking to you guys. So the skills that I learned in that move, which I made in 1997, are things I use today. Again, it's being adaptable, keeping that open mind, and just going out there with that willingness and hunger to learn. It's not going to be easy. And I think a lot of you who are coming out of the job market now, you've probably been blessed because none of you can remember 97. So this is a time where you grow and you learn. I know that sounds like some old fogey telling you, hey, everything's going to crap outside. But you're going to learn. Don't worry about it. And you're going to tell your kids about it. But these are opportunities that you can look at in new businesses. What are the new things that you can start off? Like going back into farming. I mean, everyone's been Facebooking the new live prawns coming in, the Cameron vegetables, and the newly defined sourdough skills. So there are opportunities to grow in this market. There are skills that you learn. Coming out of the job market, you might be the last batch of people who actually went to university physically.
Wow.
So hopefully you've developed social skills. You might be the last person to play a sport for your university team. I've looked at the American universities. My old university, Thunderbird, had people graduate by robots holding iPads with a picture of the student. That's how they're graduating now. So you might be the last people who have those social skills. So you might be in demand there. But understand as well, and another piece of advice is to also understand there are a lot of old people in the marketplace who's still there and haven't retired. In the oil and gas industry, what we found is I think 60% of their members are below 35 in the Society of Petroleum Engineers. But yet there are those old guys who say, you know what, digital, I don't know. When I touch the machine, that's when I know about it. So you're still going to have to deal with that. So you're going to need what I call the serenity prayer. God give you the patience to deal with what you can change. God give you the strength to change what you can change, the patience to deal with what you can't, and the wisdom to know which is which.
Nicely said.
I do agree. Because I think because we deal with the same clients, we know people in Petronas that's been there for over like 30 plus years, 40 years. I imagine the whole career being in Petronas, and like things have changed so drastically. I feel like again my point for fresh grad is like don't rely on the job. You need to start creating your own financial independence. Having a job is definitely good, but start having other form of side hustle, different stream of income and everything. Like be diligent. Like nothing can replace hard work. Nothing can really replace hard work. If you don't think you have the time, there's always time. There's always additional time, 1 hour a week, one hour a day, or a couple of to work on something. That's it. So you can always find time to actually build something on the side. That is a good thing because the job market again is going to be so different that people might be hiring from all around the world because remote working is a thing, and they don't need to hire from just Malaysia alone if you are just in Malaysia. The other thing I kind of because there's a lot of fixed costs sunken into a lot of this colleges and institutions. I think they will still exist, but maybe not so soon. There's still going to be some form of people going to physical classes and so forth. But again, there is going to be a lot of things that will be virtual, will be remote. You can. So also that means there's no excuse for you to actually learn something new because there's so much free and available and low cost like resources out there. Like for example, if you do not know programming, Free Code Camp is an initiative that you can learn programming for free. So there are all these things out there. The problem is people do not know ask the right question. They always look for the wrong thing, and that's why when they search, they cannot find the right thing.
Okay. I mean, any more questions before we go to the rapid fire? Because we are now at 12.
They are a lot of people saying thank you. So I think we can go to the rapid fire questions right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you guys ready?
Yeah.
This is the rapid fire round of questions. I'm going to be asking you a series of questions, and you need to answer them like super quick and straight to the point. Are you guys ready? No grandfather stories lah, basically. Can do? Okay. So what are the top 3 key things you think will stay post COVID-19 and will become our new normal?
Working from home.
Faster, more meetings, to be honest.
Okay.
More virtual meetings, you mean?
Yeah, more meetings in general. Like people just seem to like meetings. Like I don't classify it as work, but people think that is work.
Okay. 3 things. So
3 each or
More family.
3 different things.
3 different things.
So family time.
More family time. I think there's going to be more
In the
home.
house.
Yeah, more home chef.
More home chef. Okay. Okay. What about you, Horace?
Yeah, agreed. It takes 21 days to build a habit. A lot of times people are cooking at home. And throughout this period, they've been cooking 80-90% of the meals at home.
Okay. So definitely. But what about key digital trends? I mean, in terms of business and,
Moving to automation, companies are starting to realize that, okay, if my staff is stuck at home, there are stuff that I cannot do. What are the stuff that I can automate? What are the fats that I can cut? So there is going to be a lot of cost cutting, sadly, in terms of moving. I mean, I won't say automation is cheap, but it's going to be a lot of bosses and a lot of people are realizing that they have to move towards that. No choice. So even if you are a farmer, you could be a digital farmer.
I'm not surprised. Okay. Anything else you want to add to that, Horace?
I think just an increase in efficiency, ideally. With cost cutting, sometimes you cut the wrong things out. But I think what we're looking at, Peter Drucker said, when the tide is out, you can see who's swimming naked. So a lot of industries now are discovering they really have to cut costs. Some of them have put in their 2-year improvement plans within the next 2 months.
Wow. Okay. What with all these things happening that we're all going to go digital, what are the top 3 things businesses can do now to prepare for this new future?
Engage with your existing customer, call them and find out what their actual needs now, because you need to be something high on their priority list.
Okay. Another 2?
Have a big cash bank.
Okay, plan better, right? A lot of people did not have that backup plan and stuff like that.
I don't know if you can blame them for not having the backup plan, because in the restaurant industry in Malaysia, the margins are quite low. With all the things, the costs of restaurants are not high, so you're just ticking over and you can get hit. So I'd say having that buffer, ideally 6-12 months of cash flow in the bank, is always better. If you can have 2 or 3 years. One company I was dealing with had 12 years of cash flow in the bank, and then the investment banker said that's a waste of money, you shouldn't do it. But it's probably quite right now. It's not laughing at the banker.
Okay, anything else businesses can do immediately?
Just really start embracing online. Set up SOPs for remote working. A lot of companies do not have that, so they are still relying on, for example, how you deal with security, how you deal with hiring and firing, how do you deal with your staff not answering phone calls and all the stuff. Have all those policies in place.
Okay, cool.
Make decisions. Last one, make decisions quickly.
Yeah.
Because you can't afford to take 6 months to make a decision when MCO gets put in. Companies now have to make, even big companies, make decisions fast.
True, indeed. Okay, this one is something completely off. Have you heard of any bad recommendations or advice you hear being given out to businesses or brands out there? What are they? I love how you're all looking at the top and thinking.
No. I'm trying to think, because there's a lot of gurus out there who are selling courses and etc.
Yes.
I would say probably sign up for all this. Sign up for courses by gurus would be really a bad advice, because they're asking you to sign up and ask you to spend a lot of money. You're not supposed to, because there's so many people who are out because of MCO. Everyone is out there helping out people. Dr. Gary Chua, like you guys, everyone is out there contributing content and so forth. You don't have to pay money, at least not 40,000 to join a class to learn how to do digital transformation.
That one I agree with you. Okay.
Yeah. 40,000. My God.
I think you can look. I know when you consider the profits, I found everyone has the benefit of hindsight, will always get it right. There's going to be lots of bad advice and lots of bad predictions. You never know. All our predictions today may be wrong. I mean, Bill Gates said, who needs more than 2 megabytes of storage in a computer?
He allegedly denied he said that, but a better fact will be Steve Jobs saying that iPhone doesn't need an app store.
There you go.
Yeah. So everyone will make mistakes. I think the question is how you recover from your mistakes and how fast you change course.
Okay. That's a good one. Okay. Last question. Are you guys ready? Very simple one. Okay. If you had one advice to give businesses out there with respect to what is happening, what would it be? And how they can prepare themselves, what would it be? One advice.
Yeah, this is like a life and death advice kind of thing. It's like you must take this advice.
Or die. Or perish, as Daniel says it.
Take action.
Yeah.
Take action. There's a Chinese saying that when you want to cook a frog, you stick it in cold water, you turn the heat up, and the frog will cook slowly. Because when you stick a frog in boiling water, it jumps out. But you've got to take action. A lot of times people are spending time with analysis paralysis. So I think whatever you do, the situation has changed. Take action.
Okay. Daniel?
I will agree with that, and basically it's just really just keep moving forward. Like again, to say that hindsight is always 2020, and yeah, if you do not take action, if you do not keep moving forward, you do not adapt, and you will die.
Wow. Okay, thank you very much. So it's 2020, right? So we may have achieved our woes in 2020 thanks to COVID-19. Who knows, right? Okay, thank you so much, guys. Amien, any other questions before we wrap it up?
Okay, I'm just gonna put up some of the comments. All right, I think it's quite interesting as well. So a lot of people said hi. Tom Peters, fail forward fast. What's that about? Somebody said that.
Basically, make a lot of mistakes and learn from it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, they said excellent session. They learned a lot. All right. Well done, guys. Thank you.
We're so glad.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's gonna, I think, any other comments you want to add, Amien?
No, I think that's it for now. It should be okay.
Okay, cool. Guys, thank you so much for joining us also at last minute and sharing, your prophecy for the digital future. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I just have one more thing to say. Daniel, I've been following up your show as well. Would you like to talk a little bit about your show?
Sure.
Because we are all in partnership, right? So let's promote each other lah.
Yeah. So thanks a lot. So it's actually a bit of an ad hoc show that came out of this whole MCO.
Yeah.
I made a commitment to do almost a daily stream a day, and trying to bring insights for the community. So we have a community of 25,000 entrepreneurs, mostly from Malaysia, but some of them are from Southeast Asia. But the whole purpose is to bring various people. Like, so we got the former VP of Alibaba to share about how Alibaba survived SARS, and we also had like a bunch of entrepreneurs like the Noah Kagan, who joined Facebook. He was number 30 for Facebook, and he is now the founder of AppSumo. So he basically shared about the whole idea of there's no such thing as a recession. There is only prioritization of where people are spending money. And we also have best-selling author Chris Gillable, who talks about side hustle. So there's a whole series of a bunch of people, Mr. Gopi from MDAC, and local entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs around the world. So yeah, do check it out at facebook.com/group/mixupasia.
Okay.
So we might put that in the comment section.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, Pauline, help. Yeah.
Pauline will help.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. What's next for you, Juarez? What's next for you after this? Can people contact you if they want some advice?
Yeah. I'm on my LinkedIn profile. We're actually doing a webinar, I think on the 19th, where we actually talk to a lot of engineers, and this is predominantly oil and gas and power, and a lot of them want to do a digital journey, but they don't know how to. So we're giving them a little toolkit on a webinar, and then I think it's probably going to be the 19th of May. So it's free to join, and we're also going to get our team in Australia there. So we'll have a bit of diversity.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Good luck.
Good luck. All right.
Thank you very much
and thank you so much for sharing your advice and insights into our audience here. Thank you very much. Now, moving forward, next week, we are actually going to be taking questions. And if you guys are having a hard time to kind of move forward digitally, please drop us a message and we will pair you up with one of our advisors or previous speaker to help you move forward. So drop us a private message or DM if you're a bit shy. Now, I have to answer my mate. I mean, can you take over for a while?
Okay, right. So just to summarize a few things for today, all right? Since we had a very interesting session. Okay, this is a very relaxed session, so things like this will happen. Sometimes dog will be barking and all that stuff, all right? Motor coming in and all that, but that's normal. Okay.
That's the new normal.
Yeah, that's the new normal.
Life.
All right. So Nina, welcome back.
Hello? Okay, hi, I'm back. I'm so sorry about
Okay.
that.
No, it's a new normal. So
There's a new normal.
Meeting will always be interrupted.
You don't understand. My mate hasn't been with me for so long, and I miss her so much. I love you, Avi. Thank you for coming back. Okay, so
Okay, you have to summarize today's session. That's what it's going to
yes, I know I'm doing that. So, okay, guys, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for today. But if I were to summarize today's episode, what I'm getting at is, yes, there's a lot of uncertainty. But we hope that what we shared today will sort of give you an idea of what's going to happen in the future. And there is a lot of opportunity to rebuild your future if you're able to open up your mind, be flexible, and see things for what they are. Now, the past is gone, but there's loads of opportunity, so focus on those positives. Another thing is be flexible to rethink your business model. Know that when to push things and when not to push things, okay? I think that's it for today. Thank you so much, guys. Give our speakers another round of applause. Okay.
the party noise as well.
Yes, okay. If you like this video, please make sure you hit us a like and make sure you follow us on our social media, which is PopConFest and PopCon on LinkedIn kind of thing. Thank you so much. I mean,
Thank
you
you,
have
guys.
anything to say?
Just that we're going to have our show on a weekly basis, all right? Thank you so much to the two speakers. Please share this. There's going to be a recording session. There's going to be a recorded version of this that's going to be posted back in Facebook and also YouTube and also LinkedIn. If you miss this show, next week we'll have another one at the same time, 11 o'clock, right?
And next week we're going to be asking questions from you guys, and we're going to answer it live on Facebook and LinkedIn. The other thing is Happy Wesak Day, everybody.
Yeah. Happy Wesak Day.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
So thank you so much. Okay, thank you for watching. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. This is Nina.
This is Amien.
And you've been PopCon.
Right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.